Hi, everyone. Hi, Christine. Merry Christmas.
Hello.
Merry all the holidays.
Is it pre-Christmas?
It's twas the night before Christmas.
I'm working on my my liquor advent calendar still.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I don't know if I can make it. I have to double up on a couple of those.
Yes. Well, for those of you just joining us, oh wow, this week has been a month, and this month has been a year. We are Double Defense.
And it's almost over.
It is. We are an all-female hockey podcast where we talk about our favorite team, the New York Rangers. We do touch on the Pittsburgh Penguins and the NHL and hockey in general. So it's great. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Liz. I'm here with my co-host, Christine. Say hi, Christine.
Hello.
Usually we're joined by Sarah, but she couldn't make it today. So she shares her holiday cheer, and maybe she'll pop in a little bit. But we are excited to wish you all a very happy holiday season. We're excited to talk about what's been going on with the Rangers, who have had, they were struggling for a couple of games since we last did this podcast. Then they seem to come back in a really big way. Had an amazing victory last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs, which made for a very nice, sweet revenge game. And we have a lot to dive into on this episode, including some superstitions as well that Christine has compiled from a poll that she's done, just various hockey superstitions. So again, a lot to talk about. I think maybe we just get started about how well the Rangers have played over the last few games. They've had since. Yeah. I mean,
I'm still looking at an overall level, and we're doing fantastic. So,
yep, still sitting nicely in first place. I think there were a couple of games that felt a little clunky. There was a 6-2 loss to the Senators at the beginning of the month, which felt a little sad. And then the Capitals beat us 4-0. That was a tough one. Then we beat the Kings.
So that's the game. Yeah, that's the game I'm referring to, where there could have been some changes, and I was kind of curious as to why there weren't.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing Laviolette make some interesting choices. I think especially with goaltending, I think he tends to let Shesterkin, when he's struggling, stay struggling. It seems to be an interesting choice. And I'm sure nothing is done without extreme purpose by Laviolette.
I'm seeing that, and that's kind of what I think we were just talking earlier. Two things with watching Shesterkin play and how he's playing. I kind of thought, actually, that was the game you brought it up. I was kind of wondering why he wasn't getting pulled. Why he did, you can pull him through it within the period, but you can also not bring him back in the third. But he played it out, and you kind of wonder at that time, what's going through Laviolette's mind. Is he just going to take the loss and kind of move on? Are you saving quick? Was that the game where we played the Kings the next day?
Yes.
I mean, we had back to back. Okay. Yeah. So that made sense. And Quick was amazing against his former team.
Yes,
and with that win, I'm going to digress just a bit. Quick became, and I don't know, I think he might be the only one to have literally beaten every single NHL team as a goalie. So
wow.
a lot of fun facts are flying by, a lot of milestones are getting hit, every game. It's really been fun to watch. So that kind of made sense. But a lot of talk, I think, Quick on not the negative side, but the wanting improvement side has been kind of a focus. And I keep reminding people this time last year, we were in the same position in a way, complaining about Quick. Everyone was comparing. And, at the end of the season, he had one of his best seasons ever. So, take away the perfection, because everyone opening their traps are far from perfect, but they can do it because they have time.
Yeah, I mean, Rangers fans are on edge. I mean, we're all New Yorkers, so I think we there's that line in the musical Rent, where someone goes, they go like, why are you afraid? And the guy goes, I'm a New Yorker, fear's my life. So I think like we operate on a baseline level of fear. So watching Shesterkin struggle, because he has had a couple of clunky games, but you're totally right. This exact same thing happened last year where he was struggling. Everybody lost their minds. And he was able to come back. I think Shesterkin, one of my favorite things is speculating about what's going on in these guys' minds.
I know, it's big.
I think Shesterkin, he seems like a very emotional person who is able to channel those emotions very positively in his own way. And I think in my mind, the scenario is that Laviolette wanted him to sit in the loss and remind him what that feels like so he could come back and not want to do that again. And you know what? I think it totally worked because he started playing so well over the last couple of games that he's been in net for.
Yeah, there's also talk about even just the players not defending him as much as they were quick. So we're getting this reverse conversation. We had the same conversation last year, but it was more for Halak.
Yeah.
So it's the same stuff. We're just throwing it around in different ways. So it's fun to listen to people, do that. But yeah, I kind of agree, because when you're thinking this should happen and it's not, then you know that there's a plan. And hey, it's working. We're at the top, and the thing I like, and people are not really seeing, or maybe they're forgetting, maybe they know, they're just not saying it. We're at the top. We're technically in third place, but we've got 3 games, on the top 2 teams. So the other thing is, where we had that week off, where we were sitting around going, what the heck is this all about? I'm kind of thinking that was good strategy, because now we're chasing, and to have that strategy of knowing what you're chasing and knowing what you got to do is not a bad thing. So I don't necessarily know how much control we had over the scheduling, but I'm kind of liking the fact that, and people are forgetting that, we're 3 games behind, and it's because we had that week off. So
yeah, I think you're totally right. And with the Rangers, one of the other really good signs, we're not going to win every game. That's just, I think Rangers fans want us to win. Like, they want a perfect season, but it's not going to happen. But the longest losing streak they've now had has been 2 games. It's the longest losing streak this season. And they have been able consistently, every time there's a loss, to come back stronger than before, which is such a testament to, again, to this team and Laviolette's coaching.
They're also making game comebacks. So they were talking about it the last game online with, and I don't know the numbers offhand, but how there's a certain percentage where we've come back in the third. We've been down and we've come back to win in the third. So we've got that. But you know what? There's another team doing that too, and we're kind of 1 point ahead of them, the Bruins too. Because I like to kind of turn the channel and try to watch the Bruins lose. And all of a sudden, I'm like, they tie up the shit, and I'm like, what the heck? Stop it! And then they win in overtime. I get so pissed. So
that game against the Bruins, which you really didn't have a chance to really dive into, was just amazing.
And I listened to it, by the way. So you had the perspective of watching it, especially in the third when all the crap went down. And I was listening to it on the radio because I was driving into LA at the time. So a whole different perspective. We were kind of talking about earlier, as you kind of go in, we were saying that the guys, when I'm listening to Dave Maloney on the radio, there's more emotion that you're not hearing when you're watching it broadcast, on TV. So it was actually interesting to listen to with all that went down, because Bruins are dirty.
Oh, absolutely. And Trocheck had a killer game. The Bruins were sneaky. Did you see? I think this is true. This is like one of those things I saw posted. But I think it was either the NHL Stars of the Game or the ESPN Stars of the Game for the Bruins Rangers, a game which the Rangers won. The Stars of the Game were 2 Bruins. It was Swayman and somebody else. And the second star was Igor. But the Rangers won that game. That's how much people.
But it was on their ice. Does that have to do with their ice?
I don't think so. Not when it's but this was an ESPN or NHL like star. This had nothing to do with like a specific.
They're just jealous.
I know they're jealous. I know. It was just so
That's
funny.
fine.
It was.
So you like? Do you think Trocheck has a thing? You know how he sits and waits patiently. He's Mr. Third man on the bromance side. So
he's
earning his way. He's earning his way into the middle of the two. He's gonna be a little sandwich. So
he's gonna be a meatball. They're gonna be a meatball sub.
There's something working for him now. I know he's like, I wonder if that's a superstition for him. I love to ask him these questions.
Well, I do want to get into the superstition conversation in a second because you can see when the Rangers get off the ice, there's now like a new order. So after a win, it traditionally always was Kreider would be at the door greeting everybody, like giving high fives to the guys as they come in, and Mika would be last. Now Trocheck definitely hangs out. What annoys me is when I watch the games on ESPN, they always cut away like right before the Kreider Mika hug, and they go to commercial. Like, oh, just give me like that money shot. That's all I'm here for.
Because they're jealous.
Come on, guys.
They're just
but Trocheck has been he's definitely around.
He's been on fire. So he should be getting that Montefiore player of the week. So
and VC's been playing well. Everyone's really come together and has started playing just really good hockey. Wheeler had a really good game, even though he hasn't been producing too much. Like he had a really good game the other night. So everybody's sort of coming back to life a little bit. One of the things I was curious to get your opinion on, Christine, is the news that Miller just basically took some time off to get his headspace right. It was super mysterious. Miller announced that he just wasn't like feeling right. It was very vague, and he took some time off and then came back and said he was, I guess he was back and ready to turn over pucks again.
So it's interesting, I know everybody always wants to know what's going on, but I have a feeling sometimes too, it's for their own safety, even when they have injuries, we're not going to hear specifics because there's still dirty ass players out there that'll take you down for stuff. So they do get vague, but let's speculate.
Okay. When I first heard about it, because he said it was personal reasons. So my immediate thought was it like a family emergency? Then I was like, did he like break up with someone? And then I started getting annoyed because, and you and I have talked about this, as a professional athlete, you get paid beaucoup cash to have to deal with all of these things in life, but also go out and do your job and win for the team. In our jobs, we have to deal with the stuff in life and also show up at work.
We take personal days and we fart around when we don't want to work. They don't have that option.
They play 82 games out of the year. So they have personal time. And they're also making beaucoup cash. I will happily play for the Rangers and take all the time personally if I can get that salary. So
do you think they have a team, like a team psychiatrist or therapist that travels 100%.
And one of the things that's interesting
that they don't cry during interviews.
The only time the crying is allowed in NHL interviews is when it is Mika gushing about Kreider. That is the only time he is allowed to tear up over the emotions of how much he cares.
So we have seen emotions come out in players, namely. It made me cry was when they traded when they broke up the whole thing with Henrik, and then when Henrik was talking about it, he was interviewed with Zuccarello because they were buds. If you watch it, it'll make you cry because he was getting upset, and so hey, you never want to take away from the fact that men can have emotions and feel sensitive, for everything. Yeah, I don't know what happened with Miller. I want to say it's because of you, because, you were always yelling at him, that he makes the mistake. I'm defending him all the time, saying, look what happens when he does, though. He makes a comeback and he's amazing. I will say, look, he's been getting lots of props since he did take that time off. The other thing is, whatever's in their heads, maybe they just get in their own heads sometimes, and it affects their performance. So, so what if you got a timeout from the coach? You know, go take 2 days, figure your own self out, and come back. And because since he's been back, he's a kind of a new person too. So if it was more of a self, you know, something internal, then did it work? Was it worth it? You know, like just aside from.
I think time will tell, and maybe part of it, you know, when he took off part of Goodrow's face accidentally, maybe that had something to do with it. But you know, it's interesting. I think time will tell. I was trying to specifically watch him in the last couple of games. I didn't see like a tremendous difference in how he was playing or skating. I felt like he was still turning over the puck. Sorry, Miller, if you are listening to this, we do really care. Your slap shot's been amazing. Slap shot's been amazing. And if it was a breakup, Christine's available, so give her a call. I'm sure he's sitting there. He's on the plane, like he's on the plane flying with the team or something, or like they're on the bus going somewhere, and he's like, "Oh man, double defense is talking about me again."
Exactly. It affects them. I know it. I know it does. So, why do you think we're doing so well?
And you know, it is interesting. I think yes, I think mental health is a huge part of what these guys have to deal with. I'm guessing there are probably multiple team psychologists that work with these guys on a number of things, because sports psychology it's a really interesting field, because so much of it isn't physical. So much of this game is very mental. So if these guys are in their head, this can affect them. So I'm sure there are sports psychologists that work with the team. I'd be very curious to learn more about that.
Yeah, you know, look at the. It's interesting that you say that, because I've always said that the East Coast teams play more skill, West Coast kind of plays more physical. That is not the case this year. I think we're playing extremely physical. I think all these teams are. We've come out of the gate running at this high level, especially the Bruins. And you're seeing, like, watch a Bruins game. You know, it's like when they're good, they're really good. When they lose, they are dirty. And Pasternak, who I used to just enjoy watching, is like worse than Marchand. I'm like, what the hell happened to you? And so, you know, the game before, he ended the game in the penalty box, and then he, you know, takes out our guy and ends up getting, you know, luckily got kicked out. And I was driving the car, like, I probably look crazy when I'm driving, listening to these games, because I'm like, you're out of here, get out. I'm screaming, my arms are flowing, and I'm just like, rawr, and I have it all the way turned out. So it's pretty good. And to see the outcome of that, you know, like as on the win side is pretty good. So just as exciting as watching how we're doing, some of these other teams have been good. And I'll tell you, like, even the losses that we've had have come from teams that had kind of some losing streaks. So I can't say that we played so poorly as opposed to the other team. You know, now we're marked. People, you know, like the teams need to kind of, and the only way they're going to advance is starting to beat these upper teams. Yeah. And they come out with a vengeance, and these other teams have been doing well. You know,
and you know, like you said before, like the Rangers are a team that can come from behind too. So even if the other team scores first, which is happening in a lot of these games, you cannot count the Rangers out.
It appears as though we kind of come off with a slow start at times. I don't really see that. We were talking about this early in the season where they've got more control things. Now they kind of do fall back on bad habits. I want to say, like, we're seeing little fancy passes when they should just be shooting. Quick, I'm enjoying Quick, but if you, like, I don't know if you're seeing that and watching any of these games when he's playing, but watching Quick for years and years and years with the Kings, he gives me a heart attack all the time.
Get back.
Did you see the play? Did you see the play where he went to the blue line?
Yeah, yes.
Like, oh,
what are you doing?
Get out. He's driving me crazy. I mean, fun and exciting, but oh my God. So
one of the noticeable habits that I've seen is their tendency, you know, right after they score, it seems like they get scored back on within like a minute, and it happens all the time with this team. So it's almost like they're so excited. They're like little puppies. They're so excited that they scored that they forget there's like another rest of the game that they still have to play.
I know.
And you know, with the slow start, you know, sometimes I joke around with a couple of people that the bus might be stuck in traffic. Like the Rangers haven't actually showed up yet. The bus might be running a little bit late. You can tell when it shows up. It might be, you know, 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, but it can be slow.
Yeah, and I'm thinking too, in watching, you know, all the lines are playing pretty well. I do feel that we sometimes get stuck in the little, you know, and trying to kind of match up the levels to, and trying to time that up is costing us effort and opportunities too. And they're kind of trying to draw, and I also see kind of trying to draw the penalties. I know we're getting some unnecessary ones again, because I think we're not focusing on, you know, on certain things, and it's costing us. You know, we this season, I think we've gotten way too many men on the ice penalties.
So many.
And that's like a reflection of just not paying attention, you know, as much as they should. We are, you know, we're leading on a lot of things, you know, in most games. We're really good on faceoffs now. Trocheck has been amazing.
Trocheck's been amazing on faceoffs.
You know, Kreider's, you know, he's hit a record, you know, with his goals and with you know, power play goals. So they're all trying again. We're seeing it, and I'm listening to the announcers like, they're trying to time it where they're on the ice and but we all try to even it out too, the ice time. You know me with my comments on, you know, leading scorers with, you know, with other teams. And I kind of look and see how much ice time that they have, you know, for some. McDavid just is one of the leading, he's the first to hit 25 goals this season, and he didn't win, you know, that's fine. So, and why is that, you know, and I'm always like, why are we not marking these guys up? You know, they should be someone on them at all times. And how do they even get shots off? You know, that's the goalie mom, or not the goalie, but the hockey mom in me. So, so it'll be interesting to kind of see. And we haven't, I'm kind of getting excited. I know in the next couple weeks, we're going to really be talking about it more with Vegas, but we haven't played them yet. So,
yeah, that West Coast road trip will be interesting because, you know, the Rangers have done like these little mini road trips, but not as big one since the very beginning of the season. And they played so well.
And they went right to the week off after that, you know. So
yeah.
they did that Canadian, and then they went and had that week off, which now is letting us observe where we should be. And I think we're in a good position with that. But they're going to come out here and we're going to play the Kings again. The Kings are doing well. They're right on our tail.
Yeah.
Vegas is still at the top and doing well, but they've got a couple games in hand. So and that's only a few weeks away. So it's going to be really curious to see where we're going to be when they come out, and how we're going to handle it, how the game's going to go, and are we? And the big question will be, are we going to get shamed, and how many times?
As long as there isn't
that night. I have air tags, so we're good for me.
We're not going to lose you this time. Well, okay. So speaking of which, going into, you know, Vegas and you know, all these games that we might actually have the opportunity to go see because they're coming west. That's very exciting. I know that you've been interested in people's pregame superstitions. What are the things that they do, the rituals that you do before a game that you think might help influence the outcome to be positive?
Yeah, we were touching on this last time. I don't really have any superstitions or things that I do. I will say, to my right, at the end of the room, my jersey is sitting on the chair. It has not moved, and we're doing well, so it's going to be staying there. I don't know what I'm going to do when it comes time to wear it, but right now that's good. If anything, if I'm wearing a shirt, I don't tend to wash my shirts, and I don't have just one. I have a lot until there's a loss. But if they're winning, then the shirts they're lying around. I'm a typical girl. Like, clothes will be everywhere until there's a loss. So it makes it hard this season when we haven't had very many. So.
Yeah, your shirts are never getting washed.
They do. I'll buy more. That's me. What about you? Like,
So yeah, the only thing that I can really think of that I do like personally is a couple of years ago when we had all those people over for one of the games, I put a sticker, I think of Lundqvist, on a bottle of soap in my bathroom. And now I'm afraid to throw it was like a disposable bottle, like one of those like disposable bottles of soap. But now I don't want to throw it out. So I just keep refilling the disposable bottle of soap because I'm so nervous about ever losing that one sticker.
I will say that when we are over there watching the game together, every time you go in to refill a drink, we score.
Noted.
So we need to work on that.
We just need a TV in the kitchen then.
More drinks. What do we need to do with that?
Yeah, I do recall that happening actually.
So I put it out on social media.
Oh boy.
It was interesting. I'm learning I need to be a little bit more specific in things, but it was fine because on one page, so for anybody who knows and you're on Facebook, there's NHL Uncensored. That is a scary place to go because you post something, they will eat you alive, which is fine. But actually, everyone's been really great in kind of responding, giving things. I just put just a general kind of question out there. It's like, do you have any traditions or or superstitions? And aside from the one guy who was like, they're not real.
Superstitions aren't real
because they're not, kind of thing. Everybody else kind of, and it was cute. Actually, it was cute where there's a whole conversation that was going on between these two gentlemen. I guess the one guy's a Boston fan, and he still, even as a fan, doesn't touch the cup. But they couldn't decide, is it the President's Trophy or is it the Stanley Cup? And they kind of kept going back and forth, which is really cute. And actually, I was looking at that too, where it looks as though that whoever wins the President's Cup only 38% of those teams go on to win the Stanley Cup. So it's a very low percentage. So no one really wants to get that trophy. And aside
what happened to Boston last year?
I know they're out the first round. Yeah. Then so and also last year too, we saw Florida touched their conference trophy, and Vegas did not, and Vegas went on to win. Although statistics for that tend to be more 50-50. So, and there was kind of an angle in that with Crosby actually not touching the cup, the conference trophy, and then they lost, and then when he did, they won. So, so that goes back and forth, but you still see players doing that. So on to fans, which was interesting. A lot of them will only kind of similar things. They'll wear the same shirt throughout the season. They won't wash things until, or they'll wear the same shirt until there's a loss. They'll do the same, seats or the same drink, which is really kind of cute. Now, people who've played, I thought was interesting, where a lot of them will, like one guy didn't wash his socks for the season, and a lot of these people who play goalie, especially, they literally will dress like one side, right side first, right side equipment first, and left side. It was mostly right, but there was some left in theirs too, which was cute to see. So even just the order of the way that they dress was kind of fun. And then some people have tokens, that they'll put up and display for things. I did ask also kind of, who washes their jersey or hasn't washed their jersey, because it kind of came up in conversation where people have signed jerseys and they're not washing them. So we will do a future PSA on how to safely wash your jerseys because you should. Because one of the players, or one of the comments that I got back was that someone had to actually, move their season tickets because their neighbors also had season tickets and did not wash their jersey.
But I wouldn't wash an autographed jersey either. But I also wouldn't wear it. I think it would make me too nervous to wear it, because the one that I do have is white, and I'm a total mess. So there's no way I can wear that.
Yeah, well, and that's a funny thing too. And so we'll definitely do a double defense on the street with that when we venture out with the Rangers and Vegas. Vegas will be perfect, with our mini microphones and some stickers. We can do, and because you see people sign jerseys all over the place. And it was one of our Instagram followers who kind of said that he doesn't wash his jersey, so it kind of is an interesting thing. I don't have my jersey signed, so I do. I don't wash it during the season because I'm not wearing it all that much right now.
Yeah,
it's in a good place because we're winning.
Exactly.
But
you're not like going out and like running.
but I definitely dry clean it at the end of the season. It gets put away.
You're not taking it to the gym every day, so I don't think it needs like regular washing. I will agree with that.
So that was kind of fun, but I'll tell you something. It made me kind of look up other superstitions, and I found an article that was originally written a few years ago, but it kind of reposted recently about some strange superstitions from players of the past, and they were kind of cute. Some of them were kind of cute. So one of them was interestingly enough, and I can go into detail in a second, that Wayne Gretzky had not just one, but a lot, so he seems to be the most superstitious guy in hockey. Again, all these things are things we do, to make us feel like we're playing better, or being better fans or better players. You see this a lot in baseball. My kids grew up playing baseball, and kids that tap their bat, on certain orders for things, that's a big thing too. But yeah, so Gretzky had a lot. Like one of them was like he doesn't get his hair cut on the road type of thing. And I'll go into more of those in a second because I want to go through. These are cute. So one of them was Patrick Watt used to talk to his goal. So he would he's like, the goalposts always helped me, and I played a good game, and so. It said it began during the 86 Stanley Cup playoffs. And Ross said it started with by accident during the national anthems. And he said, what exactly would he say? He's like, come on, guys, help me out. Before the game, I give them direction. The goalposts are always with me. They talk back to me, and some nights they say bing. Some nights they have a bad night too. So that was kind of cute. And he went on to have a fantastic career. So there's also one where it was kind of gross. How long ago this guy? This guy's name is another goalie named Glenn Hall, Hall of Famer goalie. But he used to vomit before every game. He's like, I got the feeling I wasn't. Yeah, on purpose. He'd make himself throw up before every game. And he said, I got the feeling I wasn't giving everything I had if I didn't go through this ritual that I did. And I also felt that I played better when I did it. I felt it wasn't, if I wasn't wired, I wasn't playing well. So I'd get up in the morning and I couldn't wait for the game time. So that's what he did. That couldn't have been...
It seemed like the healthiest. Yeah, that didn't seem like the healthiest option.
Meanwhile, the young kids are like, you see the young kids now eating their like Snickers bars and shoving food in their, like when they're on the bench, you see that now too, because they're all 18 and they're always hungry. What was another one? Eddie Belfour had one where he's like, no one was allowed to touch his stuff. It's like, if you touch my stuff, I'll kill you. So no one's allowed to touch his thing. Even Sidney Crosby, like he was, I guess he had to tape his own sticks. If someone else touched it, he has to retape it. So he has his own thing. And with Wayne Gretzky, he would apply baby powder to his stick before games. Other rituals he would have would be he refused to ever have his hair, cut while on the road. He said that the one time he got his hair cut, they lost terribly. He always puts his equipment in a specific order on and this is the left to right thing that other people were talking about that they do. And I'm sure they kind of followed in his footsteps because I'm sure it's well known. And in warmups, he would always take a shot that would purposely miss to, wide right, which is kind of interesting. So always that first shot was really bad. And this was weird. after warm-ups, he would always drink his beverages in a particular order: Diet Coke, water, Gatorade, and then another Diet Coke. So, um, so
Also,
yeah, a couple.
also between periods, like I feel like Gretzky had like just the worst, just like the worst food health superstitions.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's been talking about it recently because he's got his podcast. And there was another goalie. Was it a goalie? Yeah. I don't know who this guy is. Carl Alsner taps the stick 88 times, traces maple leaf outline before the national anthems conclude. So Brandon Shanahan wore his junior hockey shoulder pads, to a game, and then always listen to Madonna, So Chris Chelios was always the last person to put his jersey on. So who do you think's the last person dressed in the Ranger locker room?
Ooh, last person dressed in the Ranger locker room.
Yeah. I wonder what happens in that locker room, if there's any like locker room superstitions with that. We know who's last off the ice. Do you think it's the same order in the locker room?
Yeah, maybe. Interesting. And Shesterkin clearly has his little, like, I don't know if I'd call them superstitions, but he has his little rituals. Like he does that turtle thing. He becomes a turtle during the national
I think
anthem.
That's the cutest thing ever.
They featured him. There's an ad that like constantly runs on ESPN for the NHL where they're talking about like hockey players being different these days, and it always cuts to a picture of Shesterkin with his head like underneath.
It's funny too, because when you see him, he's got the headband, he's got this ritual, and also we've talked about this too. It appears as though he's got like a tick, because every time they kind of focus on him in goal, he's blinking.
Yeah, he does do that a lot.
But outside of that, he's not like that at all. You don't see him doing that.
It's almost like he's clearing his eyes or something.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be that. So it's super fun. A lot of great responses. I appreciate everybody jumping in and doing that. And there's more. I think we can continue to talk about some of these things as we get in, because there's another thing is I wonder if they change, and I kind of want to delve more into that to see if people's superstitions change with their team. Depending on where they are or when we hit playoffs and stuff. Or have we developed more things as we get older for stuff? So
yeah, we'll keep an eye on that, and
what are we going to do? I don't know.
We'll have to come up with a few.
Yeah. So again, like at least I know when we're all together, every time you go get a drink, they win. So everyone's like,
I think you and I actually I think we have a perfect record of going to games together and seeing Rangers wins. I don't think we've been to a game that they've lost.
I don't think so.
So we'll keep it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's another thing too. One of the other things I heard a lot was, and we hear this more, so kind of tapping onto this is just the words and records. So it's frustrating when you're watching a game and they're like, well, the Rangers haven't lost in 4 games. And you're like, shut up. And then they lose. Or the Rangers haven't lost 2 in a row. Shut up. And then they lose 2 in a row. And so one of the things was like, you never say the word shutout, during the game. So like you hear that, and then that always happens. So that's funny too. That came up a lot too. I have to say, like, over all the years I've been going to the games when they're out here, since they're only out here once now, we tend to do generally well, the Rangers, over time. So actually oh yeah, you weren't there. Dang it, because we lost it. The Ducks, last year they won against the Kings, came back and won, and then we lost to the last place Ducks with a locking goal. And I was
That's right. I remember you were
yeah.
You said you watched the puck just like.
I know, I did. I watched him literally watch the puck roll by him. I could have thrown something and it would have stopped the puck. So I should have.
Well, on that note, as this year of double defense comes to a close,
created our new tradition, our superstition, which I think what you do brings us into the new year and makes us do better too.
I certainly hope so. So on that note, I have an updated version of "Twas the Night Before Christmas." This was actually, I will say, it's a lot harder to write when the team is doing well. last year at this time, if you recall, we were having a dumpster fire of a season that managed to get turned around a little bit later on. But there was a lot to talk about. So please enjoy this year's updated version of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Hold on, I have to get my little Christmas bells going. 'Twas the week before Christmas, and at MSG, Chris Kreider was sitting under the tree. Mika was hanging the stockings with care. Stringing the lights was Lafreniere. Condre was dressed up in all green and red. Panarin was handling baking the bread. Igor was blocking the kids from the sight of Truba dressed up as Rudolph that night. Trocheck was cooking a spicy meatball, while Hito, Kako, and Fox were just watching it all. When out in the street, there arose such a sound that Cooley dropped his stick to the ground. "Quick, come here," he shouted aloud. But the whole team came running to see what he'd found. "It's Santa," said Wheeler. "He's finally here. And with him is all of his little reindeer." "That looks like Coach Pete," said Brzezinski. "It must be a mistake." "But Johnny," said Vesey, "I thought Santa was fake." But Picklick leaned closer and said, "Just look up," because tucked in the sleigh was Lord Stanley's cup. "He's real," exclaimed Jonesy. "He's brought us what he want." Added Lindgren, "He's also saved us from Gallant." "On Eric, on Braden, on Barkley," said Pete. "You've all come too far to fall in defeat. May your wishes be granted. May this be the year we finally have all our asses in gear. To the fans, to the players, we will do the work. Best wishes to all, and no quit in New York."
In New York. Yahoo!
Merry Christmas.
Yay! Bravo.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Happy everything.
Happy everything.
And cheers to this is a great start. This is, it's our second season doing this. It's been fun. Everybody's progressing and watching these teams learn. And just since we started the podcast, paying attention more to these games has been such a wonderful insight. It's frustrating too at times since we are paying more attention to things, but overall, it's good. Especially now I compare, listening to the other, podcasts that we follow and listening to them, and how, again, perspective is just a wonderful thing to kind of listen to them, get their perspective, and then watch the game, trying to see through like their eyes and understand things and follow it more. So it's been a wonderful year. It's a great end to this year, a great start. We want it to continue on. So that's perfect. It's perfect. You do it so well. What a talent.
Thank you. If anybody needs a New York Ranger Christmas poem, you know where to come.
Now it have to be done every time.
Oh, it will. We'll get this posted up on Instagram too. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you for joining us.